Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing an update on the 2023 hurricane season, specifically Landfalls, as Wesh a couple weeks ago came out with their landfall hotspots and their early numbers. Now, they were the only people spot on last year for landfalls and numbers, so they are pretty accurate. And that's what I'm going to be showing later in this video, as well as they're pretty similar to what I've already forecasted. I'm recording this on my phone, so sorry if the quality isn't as good, but without further ado, let's get started. So, we're going to start with the ENSO, the new March probabilities, which is just going to kind of load slow, maybe, but we're seeing an El Nino being forecasted by the JAS period, which is July, August, and September. So for most of the hurricane season, including the peak, we're expected to be in a El Nino, and for the beginning, we're expected to be in a neutral. Now, these are some old probabilities, but we do see by the beginning of hurricane season, which is the JJA period, we see that the lowest model only goes down to negative 0.05, which is in a neutral. But the majority of these are in a positive neutral or an El Nino. Now, this doesn't mean we're going to have a below average hurricane season. As you see, I want to get more to the point in this video and get you guys the info. But basically, if you've seen my previous videos, you know that even then the CFS and CAN-SIPS and other climatology models are still showing above average sea surface temperatures and still below average shear for much of the Atlantic, parts of the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico for the 2023 hurricane season, meaning we could still have an above average season, still an unusual El Nino. And we see it's risen quite significantly. We're now negative 0.019 on the scale. So we are close to getting into the positives. So that could definitely mean that we're going to be into a positive neutral in the next couple of days. We see the Atlantic still staying pretty warm. Of course, it's warming up because we're getting into springtime in the northern hemisphere. And the Pacific is also warming up a lot. But even with this gradual warming, we are still seeing that the Atlantic is going to likely stay pretty warm based on the climatology models, and others than the southern main development region and southern Caribbean, we could still see below average shear to average shear for much of the Atlantic in 2023, meaning a lot of these systems are likely going to have good chances to become pretty strong. And of course, as showed in previous videos, the Bermuda High is likely going to be stronger troughs during the storms, more westward towards the United States and other land bodies. So, their 2020, okay, there we go. Their landfall hotspots for the 2022 hurricane season were very accurate. They got the coastal Carolina spot on. They got Florida spot on. They were exactly right for the coastal Carolinas and the Florida Peninsula. And here are the hotspots for this year. So we have the Florida Panhandle and Western Florida, as well as the Eastern Florida coast and the coastal Carolinas. This is basically what I've been saying. I have some more western areas, but of course, I did say that the Western Florida, the Florida Panhandle, the East Coast of Florida, and the coastal Carolinas, I did say in my previous videos, those were going to be the hotspots. And sorry for the echo. Hopefully you can still hear me well. That's been going on throughout the video. Anyway, so let's start with the Florida East Coast storm, which is the best chance for a major hurricane hitting land. Now, this doesn't mean the other regions that on the hotspot map are not going to get major hurricane. They very well could, sorry about that. But this is the best chance. We see May 30th to June 3rd, July 20th to 24th, and September 8th to 13th is when low-pressure systems could go through the area. And during those times, like we see many lows that gone towards Florida, especially this one November 9th low that went through the Florida Peninsula. I'm not going to show the video, but you could see it. So those are the best chances for lows to go back to this area. Not by that exact track, meaning that we could see at least tropical storm conditions delivered to these areas up to major hurricane conditions depending on the return date you're looking at. Or it could just be a regular low, regular thunderstorm. Next, we have the Florida West Coast, which includes the Florida Panhandle and Western Florida. So, Pensacola, all around Pensacola, and very close to Mobile, but not quite, all the way down to south of Tampa Bay. May 22nd to 25th, July 12th to 15th, and August 31st to September 4th are the return dates likely for this, or the potential most likely return dates. Tropical storm conditions, major hurricane conditions, or none of them. These just mean at least low pressure areas, but it could very well mean that a system potentially could go through southern Florida and then go up and into the western Florida region, meaning a system there, or a system up from the Caribbean, or even the Bay of Campeche, the Bahamas, wherever. We could definitely see some tropical storm conditions, at least in these areas, a tropical cyclone. And maybe even a major hurricane. Like I said, this is the most likely area for the major hurricane, the East Coast area. But, of course, I'm not saying if there will be a major hurricane, but we cannot rule it out for any of these regions. And, by the way, they can happen outside of these return dates. They're just generally like what they were looking at with the low pressures in winter and the most likely return dates. But do not take those with certainty. Take it with a grain of salt, because the return dates are still pretty accurate, but they're not certain. Now, the Carolina coastal storm, May 14th to 20th, July 3rd to 10th, and August 23rd to 30th. We could easily have a system go through North and South Carolina, or North Carolina, like Isaias. We could even have maybe later in the season, when the Bermuda High is a little bit weaker at the end of the season, we could have a system that goes across the Atlantic, like Florence, and then makes landfall. Dorian goes up the East Coast. I'm not saying like Category 5, but those are some potential tracks. And then areas of interest, not as bad, but still areas to watch. Southern Texas, definitely think so. I definitely think we're going to have systems that just go across the Gulf of Mexico and go into Texas, southern Texas region, Mexico, as well as even into Louisiana. Louisiana is not a hotspot on this. Here, next, MidAtlantic. So I agree with this. Southern Virginia all the way up to New Jersey and near New York. We could have a system here. Systems going through the area of the East Coast, into New Jersey, Delaware, even New York. So yeah, and just because you're not in any of these areas doesn't mean you have to watch out. Like, for example, I think Louisiana is going to be at a sufficient threat this year, even though you're not in an area. Like, and the Mississippi, Alabama coasts, those are very thin, but since you're very close to the western Florida region, I put you at a similar risk to them. And here's their forecast. They're predicting 14 to 18 named storms against the average of 14, 7 to 9 hurricanes against the average of 7, and 2 to 4 major hurricanes against the average of 3. So they were very accurate on numbers. They were the only official agency to predict an average season last year early on. CSU, none of the Weather Channel, the National Hurricane Center, NOAA Climate Prediction Center. So yeah, AccuWeather, all of these news agencies did not predict it accurately, but WESH did. So this has some accuracy to it. It's 14 to 18 named storms, so average to very well above average season. 7 to 9 hurricanes, average to above average hurricanes, 2 to 4, so around average to above average amount of hurricanes, slightly above, slightly below average, or average. So basically, we are going to be watching this closely. And by the way, Colorado State University no longer does their December preliminary forecasts for hurricane season, where they show areas and their number, so like percent chances of it being above average or below average season. So yeah, they don't do that anymore. But their next one, I think, their first one's coming out around April 7th, and the TSR is predicting 13 named storms, 7. It's either 6 or 7 hurricanes and 3 major hurricanes, so slightly below average season. They're predicting. They don't do landfalls or anything. And those are really the only official agencies do it. But basically, yeah, we're looking at weather patterns here, and it cycles and continues. People watch out for updates, and these are not the features that could predict a tropical storm. Like, just because you're in the red doesn't mean you're going to get a tropical storm. Just because one of these return dates, a low comes through, it doesn't mean it's going to be a hurricane or anything. It's just saying that these are the likeliest times that a low pressure is going to come through your area, and once the conditions right, it could produce a hurricane or tropical storm, major hurricane, depends on the conditions. So I'll keep you guys updated on that, and sorry that for the long intro earlier and me repeating myself a bit, because I usually don't record on my phone. I don't know if I ever have before. Either way, it's kind of new, but hopefully you guys still got some information from it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And I should be making another video about maybe the potential low pressure off the Carolinas or any upcoming snowstorms and upcoming severe weather. That should be tomorrow. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day or night, depending on where you are, and goodbye.